So I know it's been a couple of weeks since we've hosted our own show, so give us a little bit of time to get back into the groove of things. Hopefully this show will be interesting for you and you won't tap out of it after about 15 minutes into it. What's going on, everybody? My face is like bright red. You had no idea I was going to make that joke.
No.
What's going on, everybody? We are the Cine Fanatics. My name is Robert Adams.
My name is Chris Adams.
We are the Cine Fanatics. This is the tagline, and we are kicking this off. Woo! Man, it is good to be back.
I just want to make something very clear. Just because you donate $50 to us doesn't mean we're not going to hold you to task later and make fun of you.
Oof. Yeah. We may talk about that a little bit later, maybe, but
maybe
we'll see. Depends on how we're feeling. It has been like 2.5 weeks since we've done the tagline. Like, thank God there's been no movie news to talk about. So
absolutely zero. We just picked the right time.
Absolutely. Perfect. That nice lull right between Comic-Con and D23, just perfect timing for that.
People actually were starting to wonder, are there still movies being made? It's crazy. There's nothing happening right now. Just what's going on in Hollywood? It's completely dead quiet during this 2 weeks. I mean, or at least on one specific studio's lot. Anyway,
I mean, let me open my website that I typically go to pull like news stories from, and let me double check and make sure that there's absolutely no news on there. So, clicking around for a second, and yeah, just like that, there's absolutely no. Oh shit. We might have some things to talk about.
Oh,
there might be a few things.
Is it possible that one of those things is in the thumbnail of the live stream?
I would hope so, because otherwise this is really weird, and I should be like placing lottery numbers or bets or Gray Sports Almanac or something like that.
Something like that.
Have you seen there's been a lot of references to the Gray Sports Almanac from Back to the Future 2 lately? I don't know why, but it's pretty funny.
I don't know.
Anyways, moving on. This is our show. This is where we talk about movie news and all kinds of other awesome stuff. So welcome. If you are not familiar with us, we are on YouTube, which means there are YouTube things that typically need to be done. Like if you have any questions, comments, issues, you want to donate money to us, which would be very nice given the expenses of getting a car repaired. Streamlabs.com/cinefanatics would be a good place to get those donations in. Thank you, please. That would be awesome. Also, patreon.com/cinefanatics. Hop on the tier that is good for you up there. Whatever you're able to afford, it would mean the world to us for your support. So please hop on there. We did send a message out a couple of days ago or so to patrons. There's been some changes over there. If you are a patron of us, you may have noticed that a couple of tiers have disappeared, and we've also kind of like shuffled around some of the awards at the $5 tier, namely names on end cards of YouTube videos, which we're just not using right now. And then also we removed the reward of doing an FCL watch along with us because
what's FCL?
No reason. So no, what we should have actually done is keep that on there. We'll keep doing FCL reactions. Just there's no FCL show, so it's going to be a little weird and awkward.
Hey, watch. I'm reacting to the FCL right now.
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's a good reaction right there. Did you actually know that answer?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's definitely Dennis Leary.
It's definitely Dennis Leary. Oh, I knew that was the one you were going to go to too for that. That's pretty funny. Anyways, coming up for patrons of our Patreon. I believe that's where they got that word.
Patronizers.
The patronizers. So even though we took off like essentially the first half of this month, we're still going to give you the rewards at your tier level. So, is it this coming? Yeah, it is. This coming Monday, the 22nd, we will be doing a movie watch along. I believe the idea is that we're going to put a poll up on Patreon. So if you're at the $5 tier, you can join us for this watch along and vote on this poll. We're going to be doing a poll over some of your favorite movies, I believe, since it's your birthday month.
It's my birthday month, so yeah, I'm gonna pick a handful of my favorite movies, and we're gonna pick from that as the watch along for this month.
Spoilers: La La Land will probably be on there.
La La Land will be on there. I understand if it's not picked, but it will be on there.
So that is coming up this coming Monday, 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. The following Monday, the 29th, will be our movie trivia hangout at 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. We're going to probably do a couple of things a little bit different on this trivia hangout. We will give more information on that as we get closer to it.
When you show up for it.
Or when you just show up. Yeah. So that one might be a little bit more different than what we're used to doing. So we'll see. Anyways, upcoming shows real quick, because we got a nice little stack of them. The past couple of weeks, like I said, we've been off. We haven't been like producing like our own show. Garth, okay. We haven't been doing our own show, but we have been the past couple of Wednesdays. We've been hanging out over with the What the Show crew. That's been a lot of fun. Nice, like nostalgic hangout talks.
I did 1 week.
You did last week. I did both weeks. So not hanging out with them tonight, obviously, because we're doing our show. But I will be hanging out with them again tomorrow night, where I'm going to be claiming my What the Show Scrubs Championship belt. I don't know if they actually have a belt, but I will be crowned the champion of Scrubs trivia. So for those of you who don't know, other than watching movies, I really love the TV show Scrubs, and Chris likes it too. But yeah, like I love it so much. I typically watch 3 to 4 times a year, the entire season. So yeah, I know this show backwards, forward, sideways, byways, whatever ways you could go. That last one's a little weird, but okay.
Deadsies?
Yeah. So I'm going to be over there competing on that. That's going to be a lot of fun. That is tomorrow night at 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. So join us over there on the What the Show YouTube channel. Fans View of film favorites. Typically we do that Wednesday night over on a Fans View YouTube channel. We are not doing it tonight. We will be doing it Friday night, and I believe we are going to continue watching Harry Potter movies. So that will be Goblet of Fire, I believe, is the next one. I don't know exactly what time, but if it's at the same usual time, it's usually like 10:35 Central, so 8:35 Pacific, 11:35 Eastern. So that will be over on a Fans View. As for us, we got a couple of things going on at the end of this month, I believe. Well, okay, couple of things with this. We are still doing a marquee episode this month. We are going to be moving the dates for marquee. Marquees were typically on Saturdays. We're going to change the dates, mainly because one of us may have work and jobs that they have to do on Saturdays typically. So Saturday won't be a good day for marquee shows. So
unless it's in October and it's horror movies, in which case I won't be a part of it anyway.
In which case we might do more than one marquee a week. I don't know. Probably not. That's a lot to do. But this coming Friday the 26th will be the next marquee. We are going to be tier ranking 80s summer blockbuster movies. So big summer blockbusters throughout the 80s will be tier ranked. I think we got was it 17, 18?
Yeah, about 18 movies on that list.
18. So there's going to be some good ones on there. Again, these are all big blockbusters. So they're all movies that pretty much everyone's seen, that you're all familiar with. So therefore, we don't have to catch up and watch too many movies. Or at least one, usually. I think each of us had to watch at least one. So
if you think about it, if you think about what big franchises were occurring in the 80s, most of those franchises had a movie that came out in the summer. Those franchises are going to be present on this list.
Yeah.
This is a list of movies that should primarily all be S tier, or at the very least A.
Almost. Yeah. So again, we're gonna have one of these circumstances like, why is that movie in F tier? Well, look at what else it's up against.
This is gonna be a hard one.
It's gonna be a hard one, but luckily it's only a one episode, one off, and not 3 different parts to give us a championship on this.
Nonetheless, hearts will still be broken because that's just how we do.
Yeah. So, anyways, that is what's coming up. That's Friday the 26th, 7:30 Pacific, 10:30 Eastern. Special guest, we'll probably announce that next Wednesday. But that's what's coming up. I want to do something else. I feel like we talked about doing this before with the marquees, and we just haven't implemented it. So I'll probably do that here in a little bit, actually. I'm going to post the list of movies that we're going to be tier ranking onto the marquee channel of our Discord. So another reason to be a patron of us, even if you're at the $1 tier for our Patreon, you get access to our Discord and you'll be able to see like what movies we're going to be tier ranking. So if there's any of those movies you haven't seen yet and you want to give your opinion live in the chat, there's going to be the list that you'll know what we're going to be ranking and you'll know what to catch up on. So,
yep.
Anyways, I'll put that up there here in a minute. Just someone remind me. You want to talk about our new show?
We do. We should talk about this new show, y'all. That's right. We're going to have a new show. Hey, remember the days when we had multiple shows on this channel, all of which were just tagline and reacting to a Schmodown match? A lot of times those Schmodown matches were reacted to live with a guest from the Schmodown.
Yeah.
Wasn't it nice when we had 2 shows that occurred weekly?
It was sort of.
Wouldn't it be nice to have 2 shows that occur weekly again?
It would be nice to have that, especially because I already know what this show is.
Wouldn't it be nice if one of them wasn't live and people could watch it whenever they wanted to, and we could shoot it and film it whenever we wanted to?
You know what else would be nice with this show? If I wasn't the one hosting it.
Wow, wait. You mean I can host a show on this channel too? I'm capable?
Yeah. We're going to see how this plays out, Cotton.
It's a bold strategy. It really is a bold strategy.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
So here's the thing. Let's break it down for you guys. Here's the thing real quick. We noticed that the 2 of us, despite being on YouTube, tend to still talk about movies a lot of times in our normal everyday life. That's the primary conversation happening in this apartment at any given point is movie. So we're thinking, what happens when, we want to invite other people to take interest in those conversations? What if we feel like we have a lot to say on a certain subject that those things don't quite fit in the confines of a tagline where we're talking about movie news?
What if we want to talk about movies other than Marvel or DC?
Anything
other than a superhero movie?
What if we want to talk about other things that aren't in the major popular cultural zeitgeist? Other movies, things that have occurred before, thoughts and theories about why certain movies exist, or could certain movies be something that we categorize them as, or what have you. There's a multitude of things that we could cover. Well, there's a good place to do that. Guys, we are introducing, throw up the image, it's the Cine Fanatics podcast. We're officially jumping on the podcast train, and we're going to be discussing all sorts of things, movies, beyond just news. This is going to be, maybe we're going to be hitting hot topics, but maybe we're going to be hitting, what's your favorite movie? What would you do? I know we just talked about like comic book stuff, but we might be hitting how would we change the DC universe? Is Die Hard a Christmas movie in actuality? These are just some thoughts and ideas. There's other things coming up. There's so many things that we could do on this. And I'm looking forward to having some discussion about movies beyond just, well, the studio's doing this or Marvel's doing that. So
this is something fun. This is something kind of what I was saying before we went on a break. This is something I feel like we should have probably been doing since like the inception of this channel. Inception. Since the beginnings of this channel, this will be a way for us to be able to talk about like movies or things that aren't like the common normal what we're talking about like tonight on Tagline. This is going to be a pre-recorded show. It is going to be in our new studio, which, by the way, if y'all recognize in this image, the brick wall there on the left-hand side, y'all might have noticed that this kind of looks like a brick wall that I was standing in front of in a social media image a couple of weeks ago.
If you were paying attention,
yeah, that was us redoing our studio set, better known to both of us as our living room. It is pretty much completed now. There's a couple other things. I got to put some chairs together, get some posters up, and that's about it. It's roughly about ready to go, and we can start recording whatnot. So that will be coming soon. It will be video. So there will be videos on this channel. It will also be actually converted to like an audio only format and put through the regular podcast channel. So anywhere you get your podcast, I'm pretty sure my brother knows all about this because he did it before when we used to podcast Tagline episodes. Yeah. These will be official podcasts every week, will be up and available for you to listen to on your way to work, while you're walking around the neighborhood. Anywhere you get podcasts, anytime you listen to podcasts, they're going to be there available for you. So this should be a lot of fun.
Yes.
I know money is tight, but you couldn't afford full letters in that font. It's okay. So the font on it is the Cinefanatics is the Avengers font, and podcast is the Fight Club font. So thought that would be fun. Anyways, that will be coming pretty soon. We don't have an official date of when that will start happening, but yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. The what?
I said, yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Anyways,
awkward pause. Way to go.
It was super awkward. Welcome to the home of awkward, Cinefanatics. Anyways, moving on.
Just your room, not my room. My room's not awkward at all. Right, Pikachu?
I've seen your Twitch streams.
Okay. Pikachu says it's not awkward in here.
Yeah. Malcolm's asking, will we get a studio tour? I mean, sort of. You'll see it. I mean, it's a living room.
Here's the thing about a studio tour. The angle you see is the studio. That's about it.
Pretty much, yeah. So a couple of questions on this. Yeah. Will you have guests? Not likely. Because we're wanting this to be like not in this like digital live stream format using StreamYard. We want this to go back to being like physically in the room, like a studio, cameras on us in a studio.
I will say, if there comes a point where we're able to stream in somebody while we're in the live studio format, and they can like pop in a video format, say like a Zoom or something like that, or they come through on OBS in some way. If we can figure out a way to make that happen, then we'll approach the idea of guests for that. But otherwise, right now, it is just going to be the two of us, just because that's the way to do it.
I mean, unless we get a guest that can physically come to our studio, but that's like, hey, do you want to come into our apartment and be on camera for something? What's your favorite movie?
Which, for people who would guest on a movie-related podcast, probably not that big of a deal for them.
Why is everyone saying Polljast? Is that what it looks like that says?
No. Looks like it says podcast to me. People are just being silly.
Oh, okay. Tori says Lola can be a host.
Yes.
Anyways,
the new Fanatics podcast.
The Fanatics. That'll be interesting. The podcast.
How are you seeing Jay, Garth? How are you seeing Jay?
My question is
like this.
Yeah. So when y'all saw Fight Club like sitting on the shelf at Blockbuster Video back in the day, did you question what it was called too, or did you like, oh, it says Fight Club? It's the same font.
Bunch of goofs.
They're just giving us shit. That's fine.
Jays go like this. They don't go like this.
And they typically have tittle.
Excuse me?
They have a tittle on them.
No wonder J is my favorite letter.
Yeah. Wasn't there a cat podcastingly? Yes, there was. What's her face had a cat podcast show. I forgot her name.
That sounds lovely.
Anyways, it was funny. You should do an April Fool's joke where it's the cat of Fanatics. I mean, that would be a spin-off of doing Cinnamon Fanatics. So,
what's a Cinnamon Fanatics?
Yeah, I don't know. Sounds fantastic though. I'm actually kind of hungry now. Anyways, moving on. How have we been the past couple of weeks? Depressed. That's where I've been the past couple of weeks. So typically I don't know if we dive too much into a lot of this kind of stuff, but yeah, for anyone I've talked to over the past couple of weeks, whether I was saying like, hey, I'm going to make something for you or do this, that, and the other, and I haven't gotten to it, depression, man. Sad to say. Kind of kills your need to be able to do anything. That's where I've been the past couple of weeks. So kind of glad this is back because it's going to force me to like not be depressed and actually focus on doing shows again. But anyways, that's where I've been. That and watching, which is funny because if you go and you look at my Letterboxd, I've been watching primarily a ton of like old 80s slashers. Again,
sure that helps.
Again, thanks to Lego there, because Lego's a big support for it too. Oh, that's right. Britney Spears. Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, depression sucks. I hate it. So,
yep.
Chris, how have you been?
I've been all right. I've been diligently putting my face to the grindstone. That sounds rough. Trying to get this demo reel done that I'm working on right now for work that I do outside of the online space. This thing. I'm trapped in this box. Oh no. Yeah. So I've just been kind of working on that. Been trying to build up the motivation and get that back to where it needs to be again, which, you know, after being on your ass for like 2.5, 3.5, however many years it's been, just kind of feeling broken and laid up. It's been a thing to be like, you know what? I'm feeling the fire again. I've got goals, I've got plans, I've got ideas, I got stuff I want to do. I talk about it a lot on my stream, which is at twitch.tv/ChrisAdamsMLP, by the way.
Always be plugging.
That. So there's a lot that I've been fired up about. Yes, apparently I turned 33. That's a thing that happened. I am 3 years into my 30s. That's another reason why I'm firing up right now, because nothing like a birthday to let you know, hey, time is passing on still. Eventually you are going to be in your 40s, and then you'll be in your 50s, and then your 60s, and then your 70s, and so on and so forth. They're singing happy birthday. So take advantage of the time that you have while you have it. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, so that's what we've been doing pretty much. Just he's over here celebrating happy birthday, and I'm like, yeah, pretty much. I also just wanted a reason to play that Thor clip. We haven't done it in a couple of weeks, so anyways.
You literally never need a reason to play.
That is true. That was a true statement right there.
You can just do it.
Yeah. Yep. Anyways, so typically this is where we move on to what movies have you watched over this past week? It's been 2.5 weeks. I'm not going to list all the movies, especially because, again, like I said a little while ago, most of the movies that I watched were all like old 80s, like slasher horror movies. There's a couple of good ones. The original My Bloody Valentine was really good. I was actually really happy with it. Blood Rage is fantastic. It's an unknown like Thanksgiving one. gave me a new slogan whenever I see blood, saying that's definitely not cranberry sauce. And then Bloody Birthday was really good too. I love that one. But yeah, so like little slasher movies here and there. The main ones I would want to talk about, did watch Prey, because of course I'm a big fan of Alien Predator. So watched Prey, very much enjoyed it. It definitely deserves all the praise that it's been getting. If
praise.
The praise. Yeah. It definitely deserves all accolades and everything. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's on Hulu. Is it Amber Midthunder is the name of the actress, the lead actress? She does a phenomenal job. Have you seen on Twitter all the stars of the original Predator movies have all been like tweeting out, like congratulating her and welcoming her to like the Predator family?
You'll love to see it.
It's so awesome. I love it.
Because their voices are a lot louder and a lot more important than the myriad of misogynistic dudes out there who are like, woman.
Yeah. So it was really good. Highly recommend watching it. The other one that I've watched recently, you watched it before we went on break, but I watched it during the break, is RRR, which was a fantastic movie. I like this. This is really like my first time like watching an Indian Pakistani type of movie. I know, like, from what I've learned, this isn't Bollywood, it's Tollywood from my understanding of it. But like I've seen enough clips of like those kinds of movies that I had like a pretty good expectation of what I was getting into before watching it.
Which means that when you put it on, you were going to watch it for longer than 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I knew what I was getting into while watching. I wasn't turning it on going, what the hell is this crap? And then like turning it off. That being said, I don't want to sound like, and of course, obviously, you know, we're lightly kind of mocking another famous online YouTube movie pundit who had very key things to say over the past, 24 hours or so?
I didn't have anything key to say, but okay.
Here's the thing with that, real quick, just a sidetrack for the RRR. There have been movies that I have watched that I know like the general public absolutely loves. Good example is The Big Lebowski. First time I watched Big Lebowski, absolutely hated it. Everyone else loves the movie. I couldn't stand it. It was stupid. Didn't really make any sense. I was like, I am not stoned. I'm not drunk. I don't know why y'all are liking this movie. Y'all are all just weird. For some weird reason, I watched it again and I absolutely loved it the second time. So I can understand if you put on a movie and for some reason, maybe it's just the vibe that you're in, the headspace that you're in, you just can't connect with it. Completely get that. I understand if that was the case. Typically when, I don't know about you, actually I do know about you. You're kind of a lot like me. If you're trying to watch a movie that you know you should watch, and you just can't get into it after the first like 15, 20, 30 minutes or so, you turn it off. Perfectly fine to do that. You usually don't tell a bunch of people that, though. You're usually, like, especially if it's a very popular movie that pretty much everyone in the world loves, you're not turning around and telling people, like, I don't know what's wrong with y'all. Had to turn this off. Can't stand this. Can't figure out what's going on. So it's okay to do that, but I've just, especially if you are someone that wants to grow within this like movie pundit online criticism space, probably not the best way to go about doing that.
Yeah, there's only like a select few movies I've ever actually turned off when watching. What I'm talking about is like not turning it off and watching the rest of it later. I'm talking about just turning it off and just quitting the movie. There's only a select few of those I've ever done that with. One of which is actually a beloved movie by a lot of people, so I'm not actually ever going to say what that movie is. You're just going to have to deal with that fact. I just wasn't into it, and here's the thing. I'm completely okay with other people being into it, but it just wasn't working for me. However, there are other movies I am proud to say I turned off, which would be like Zoolander 2.
Wait, you even turned that one on?
The Love Guru.
Oh God.
All of those movies, I made it a few minutes in and was like, nope, too stupid for my brain. I'm done. So
I did get far enough into Love Guru where I was understanding the joke of Mariska Hargitay, and I was like, okay, that's actually kind of funny, but the rest of the movie was stupid. I was like, nope, turn it off.
No.
So, but I mean, that's the thing. You're naming movies like Zoolander 2, Love Guru. Generally, people don't like those movies. You're imperfect. You're in natural company saying you don't like them either.
That's why I don't mind saying that I turned them off when trying to watch them.
But when you're watching a movie like RRR, that almost every single person I have seen watch it absolutely loves it.
Yeah.
It's okay to not like it. You do. Everyone's free to their own opinion, but just the way you go about sharing it.
Also, something to keep in mind, and something that individuals who have larger influence and audiences than we have when they're in the YouTube space, they need to keep in mind is RRR is an international film. This is not an American film. This is a film that represents a whole other country's version of Hollywood, essentially. Mm-hmm. Their film industry, their storytelling, everything that they do. To come in here as an American movie critic and say, yeah, I couldn't make it 15 minutes into the movie, when you have such a large influence, such a large audience,
kind of a slap in the face.
One, it looks bad for you. Two, it looks bad for American critics. Three, it looks bad for Americans. So all the way around, don't post that on Twitter. I don't care if you want to turn off after 15 minutes. Here's the thing. If you're not into the movie, you're not into the movie. Nobody should argue with you. If you're watching like the most beloved movie of all time and you're just not into it, perfectly fine. Turn it off, go about your business, do something else. But do not get on Twitter and be like, I don't know, just couldn't make it. Couldn't make it. Especially when it's an international film and we're trying to show love and respect for other countries' filmmaking and storytelling. That makes no sense. You have such a large audience. Why would you do that?
Which, speaking of which, there's a huge amount of people, like also like Indian, Pakistani, that absolutely love this movie, and they are loving the fact that Americans are loving this movie. You want to see like your interaction with people on Twitter blow up. Tweet something positive about RRR. Your phone will not stop buzzing with all the people liking, sharing, tweeting, quote tweeting. Just
RRR has been a cultural bridge.
Yeah,
for India and other countries, namely, speaking from the American perspective, India and America, it's been a cultural bridge in terms of movie making. So it's just weird decision to come on Twitter and be like, oh, I only made it 15 minutes in.
Well, so for example, this is the first like Bollywood, Tollywood. I still refer to as Bollywood because that was my understanding before watching this movie. Yeah, I understand this one's Tollywood, but I haven't watched any Indian movies before. Yeah. This is essentially the first one. You know what? This is a good gateway movie. I want to watch more now. I know it's a gateway movie, man. I need more movies, man.
RRR is a gateway drug into Indian cinema.
It was so good. I loved it. I've seen like clips from like other like Indian movies that go a little too really corny in the action and stuff. And I've been like, it's a little weird. Like maybe someday I'll watch one of these. Now, RRR wasn't that. It didn't go that ridiculous in some.
It was still grounded while being over the top.
Somewhat. There's a little bit of weird and like cool shots and stuff, but it works and it's really awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that movie. As easily, it's going to easily wind up probably in my top 5 at the end of the year. Easily. Yeah. But yeah, love that movie. If you haven't watched it, do yourself a favor and watch it for more than 15 minutes and just watch the whole 3 hours.
Don't even worry about having to watch it all in one sitting. The movie actually gives you some pretty good breakup spots at the beginning. It even gives you like a really good solid like intermission right in the middle. Mm-hmm. Where is the halfway point in the movie. So there's a lot to help you kind of hold your hand through it.
There was a part in there where the screen like faded off to black, and I was like naturally this feels like where credits should start running, but it did like a nice fade to black. It stayed in that black screen for like an extra couple of seconds than normal, and then it came up, and I was like, oh, here's the other part of this movie, and it felt like a good natural breaking part.
Yeah.
So yeah, highly recommend that. Can't say enough good things about it. What about you, Chris? What have you watched? What new stuff have you watched over this break that you want to talk about?
Over the course of 2 weeks, I have watched an entire one new to me film, and I watched it last night.
And that was last night.
Yep. I've been busy, y'all. Been working. So I will talk more about this when it comes to the marquee, because spoiler alert, this movie is on the marquee list, but I have officially watched the sequel to Alien. What's it called again? Oh, Aliens.
There's more than one.
It's more than one Alien. I like it much better than Alien. I think I am. It turns out I'm probably more James Cameron oriented than Ridley Scott. So who knows?
So what you're trying to say is you were in the Pike 5x5.
In the Pike 5x5.
In the
What the
Pike,
hell does that
5x5.
mean? Then she blows up and out of the Pike 5x4.
It's such a good movie. It was one of those. Aliens is one of my favorite movies, like of all time, and I got to watch it with my brother, like sitting on the floor, like right behind him where he's sitting right now. So I got to sit there and watch it while he was watching it, and it was so much fun. So
Yeah.
the next Prey movie is going to be called Praise. That's funny. Yeah, Josh here seems to agree. Alien, yeah, I feel like I agree with this. I do think Aliens is probably slightly better than Alien, but they're both two totally different movies.
I loved Ripley's character arc in Aliens. Her character arc was great because she went into the movie obviously with a little bit of PTSD from what happened in the first movie.
Yeah,
a little bit of shock, and then I'm going to go back out there. I don't like this. Kind of that stuff too. By the end of the movie, she's like balls to the wall, badass, and like I love her character. Her character's amazing. I want to be like her when I grow up.
Yeah, get away from her, you bitch.
Hey, calm down now.
Yeah, it's okay.
Anyway.
Anyways, anyone else watch anything new lately that they want to recommend? Here's the thing, like I know I'm stuck in this train of watching 80s horror movies. I'm probably like there's another one that I think it was Lego was talking about the other night that I want to watch. I just haven't been able to get to it. But it has like the music was done by Devo, and like Tony Basil's a ghost in it or something. Like I want to watch this. This sounds fantastic. I forgot what it was called, but I have it saved somewhere. Oh, Lego's in the chat. She could also just type it in. But yeah, it sounded like it might be interesting. It sounds like it's going to be a very campy 80s. That's it. Slaughterhouse Rock. It sounds like it's going to be really really campy, but yeah, those are always good. Yeah, Black Phone. Black Phone was pretty good. I did enjoy Black Phone, especially the whole like there's like a 4 or 5 minute scene towards the end that is all instrumental, and it's a Pink Floyd's On the Run from Dark Side of the Moon. That was really good. Oh, cool. I'm going to talk about what a good use of a Pink Floyd song in a horror movie. It's not like that happens all the time. Except Scott Derrickson likes to put Pink Floyd songs in his movies, apparently. So, moving on. Do we want to get into some movie news? It's been 2.5 weeks. We could wait just another couple of minutes if you'd like.
Nah. I don't want movie news.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen,
good evening. This is what's happening in your world tonight.
We apologize for the interruption.
back to you.
How's the box office looking?
Told you I didn't want to do movie news.
Oh, okay.
Just kidding. All right, let's look at the box office, y'all. Obviously, we didn't report for the last 2 weeks, so these are all these numbers are going to be in relation to where these movies were at last week. So we didn't cover some of these new releases that have come out since the break. Number one in the box office It's Bullet Train. I'm not even going to try to make people guess right now. It's just Bullet Train. So, some people are liking it, some people aren't. It seems to have some fairly mixed reviews, maybe lesser to mixed reviews. That's fine. I don't know if I'll watch it, but there it is. It's number 1 in the box office.
Like Tori, it's Ezra Miller, the whole news segment.
Almost.
You'll find out here in a minute.
We'll get there. Number 2 is surprising. Number 2 in the box office right now is actually surprising. Can you guess what it is?
Was it something that was like re-released in the theater type of thing, or? Oh, actually, you know what? I would guess that it's probably Maverick.
How did you guess that it was Maverick? Did it get re-released?
The what?
Did it get re-released somehow?
It was re-released in like IMAX, and there was a push for it to be re-released in a lot wider screens again. Because they just announced, I think they just announced today or yesterday, when it's coming out digitally and for Blu-ray 4K. So
it's coming out in like November, which I don't know if you guys remember me saying that movie would come out on home viewing, physical home viewing, probably around the holiday time.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's been doing so well in the theater. A lot of movies now take about a month and a half from the end of their run, if even that long, maybe even just a month from the end of their theatrical run in order to come out on a hard disc of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
We knew Top Gun Maverick's been doing so well in the box office. The fact that it's even at number 2 again is insane. That there's no way that thing was going to come out anytime soon. It was going to wait until holiday time where everyone's going to buy the DVD or the Blu-ray for their dad for Christmas. That's probably what's going to happen.
I don't have any kids, so I got to buy my own damn movies.
It's true. It's true. So that's the thing, though. From last week, it was at the number 6 spot, so it's bumped up back to number 2. Now, here's the thing. I don't think that it's going to stay at number 2. I think it is going to slip back down pretty quickly. But it's also not going to still fall out of the top 10 anytime soon. I think it's going to be in the top 10 for quite a bit still. It's been out for 12 weeks, so the fact that it's back at number 2 after 12 weeks is pretty amazing. But moving on, number 3, we have the DC League of Super Pets. Nice little family film there with Dwayne Johnson leading it.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4 was 4 last week, 4 again this week. 4 is for Thor: Love and Thunder.
I do want to watch that again.
I hope it hits Disney Plus pretty soon. I think it's going to be another half a month or so before it hits Disney Plus, something like that.
That'd be awesome.
Usually 45 days. So hell, it's been out 6 weeks. It's been out about a month and a half so far. So yeah, probably about another half a month or so. We'll probably end up hitting Disney Plus.
Thor: Love and Thunder come out on Disney Plus. Google already knew what I was asking.
Sometime in September.
Thor: Love and Thunder may hit Disney Plus next week.
Never mind. Legitimate. It's still number 4. Which, I mean, here's the thing. That does feel exactly like Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange was hitting Disney Plus while it was still performing in the box office. So it's pretty crazy that they're pushing it out next week, and it's only been out for 7 weeks. That's crazy.
It said Disney hasn't confirmed streaming, but Lightyear streaming release date has made it a safe bet. Thor will begin streaming August 24th on Disney Plus.
There we go.
So, cool. That'd be nice.
Give that one another watch. The number 5 spot. Would you like to know what's at number 5?
Sure. Why don't you tell me?
Nope.
Asshole. Why can't you tell me what's at number 5?
I did.
So what is it?
Nope.
Are we going to do this joke every single time?
Nope. It's Nope. Nope is at number 5. Number 6 is Minions: The Rise of Gru. I forgot that movie existed. Number 7 is Where the Crawdads Sing. I did not forget that movie existed. Number 8 is Bodies, 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 which opened apparently.
That was a limited release.
Did that open last week or
this past weekend?
It had a limited release then before that because this isn't showing it as a new release this week.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's a limited release, and then it's going to be a full release this weekend.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So it's got a limited release right now. Okay, that's why it's highlighted in blue. Oh, it's
I am waiting to see Bodies with a full release.
Yeah, so that movie at the limited release, it apparently had an even more limited release last week. It was at number 16. This week it's at number 8. So when that movie gets exactly vision, yep, my thoughts. When that movie finally gets a full and not limited release, it'll probably be a lot higher than number 8. So you ruined a phrase for me. Thank you. Number 9 is Elvis, which was at number 9 last week. And then number 10 is a new release this week, Fall. Which that wasn't it the movie where it's like they're like on this tower or whatever? Like these girls are caught on this tower or something like that.
That sounds familiar, but it does not sound like a movie I want to watch.
No, it sounds like a terrible movie for those of you who have height fears.
I don't have a fear of heights. I have a fear of falling from a height.
I don't have a fear of falling from a height or even from being at a height. I have a fear of hitting the ground after the fall.
It's just let's call it a fear of death, okay?
Yeah, it's just called, yeah. I have a specific fear of dying in specific ways. Yeah. Anyway, that's your box office. I didn't even realize Easter Sunday came out already.
Yeah.
It's been out for 2 weeks. There you go.
I don't know why they didn't save that for like actual Easter Sunday weekend, but okay.
Hey, there's probably a reason.
All right. What else do we got for news?
That's it as far as box office. I mean, I know we have a lot of news to catch up with, so we should probably move on to some of that other news. That's right.
Something you haven't missed in the past 2.5 weeks.
2 weeks without it. How are we feeling? Here's the thing that we need to keep in mind, y'all. There's been some craziness happening over at the Warner Brothers studio. Movies kind of dropping here and there, getting canceled, this, that, and the other. I want to rest assure everybody the Barbie Watch news this week is that Barbie is not canceled. It is still on and still going. Yes, it's so very exciting.
So you mean to tell me the entire like 2.5 weeks that we've been off, there has been no new Barbie news at all? Okay. Sure. Moving on. So it was announced a couple of days ago that they're going to move forward with Saw 10.
Why?
Here's the thing. So the last official Saw movie was Saw 3D, and then that was essentially Saw 7. Then they made Jigsaw, which was completely terrible. So that could have been 8. Then there was Spiral, which Spiral wasn't bad, but it was just very meh. So I guess that was considered like Saw 9. Now they're going to go and do a Saw 10. I don't know what they're planning on doing with this. I don't know why we're continuing this franchise. I'm a big fan of the original franchise with its highs and lows. It had some really good movies, some really good twists, turns, and everything. But otherwise, I'm okay with this whole franchise just completely dying and not being touched again.
I heard when they announced this, I heard they actually came up with a new slogan for it. If it's Halloween, it must be time to beat a dead horse.
Must be. Anyways, so Saw 10, directed by, I believe it's Kevin Gruert, who directed Saw 5, I believe. He will be directing Saw 10. Supposedly, I guess it's going to go back and with the regular storyline and touch more upon like John Kramer and Dr. Wesley from Princess Bride. Dr. Lawrence Gordon. I had to think of his name.
Dr. Wesley from Princess Bride.
Live or die, make your choice. Well, as you wish.
The claw is going to get you.
You're afraid of the claw.
You're afraid of the claw.
So what I need to do, if that's what actually happens with that movie, I'm going to go get like the Hot Toys or whatever figure of of Wesley as the Dread Pirate Roberts. I'm just gonna have that figure sitting right here while I talk about Saw.
It's still one of my favorite things. Was it Yes Man recently? They're just watching Saw. He's just watching Saw on the couch. He's like, "Oh, quit your crying and just lob that thing off already."
Just hack it off. That's so funny. What was didn't we say there was like another like little piece of news that we wanted to talk about real quick? Oh yeah, Disney Plus has removed Avatar from its streaming service. Apparently, again, Avatar is going to be re-released in the theaters in September, so they've apparently removed it from their streaming service. So if you want to watch Avatar, you now have to wait for it to be released in the theaters, or just watch your own copy that has been out since 2009.
Or, rent it from Amazon.
Rent it, or however you get your movies.
Or, just wait for it to be put back on Disney Plus again, fresh after its re-release, because it probably will right before Avatar 2 comes out.
Yeah. See, this is the thing I hate about that, though. I mean, Josh here is absolutely correct. Jigsaw didn't cost that much, and it made over $100 million because it's capitalizing on the franchise. The problem with this is they very clearly gave up on quality, and they were just doing it because they knew it was a cash grab. They knew that they could put a Saw movie in the theaters, and people like me would still go to the theaters to watch it because we like the original franchise, and so might as well keep it going.
And then you went to the theater to see Spiral. Fool me once, shame on someone. Fool me twice.
Spiral was okay. Spiral was a lot better than Jigsaw.
Fool me 3 times. That's the 3rd Saw movie I've seen in a row that I probably shouldn't have.
Yeah. So, like, I'm okay with this, like, this cash grab idea, but I mean, give me some quality behind it too. I want like to be entertained. So we'll talk about that here in a minute when we bring up this Wizard of Oz story too. So
fun.
So
anyway, like we were saying, the Avatar thing, I think I'm into going back to the theater seat again. I don't mind Avatar. I think it's actually a fine movie. It's okay. Just people like to hate on it now. People like to hate on it now because it made the most money, and so it's just a big old fat target for everybody to be like, yeah, but that movie's not great. It's very derivative, which it is derivative, but that's not the point. The point is it's just very easy to hate. When things have big targets, they're easier to poke fun at.
The special effects were good. The 3D effects were outstanding. I absolutely loved it for that.
The movie itself isn't terrible. It's fine. It's a good movie.
I didn't like the movie. I watched it for about 15 minutes and then turned it off. I just really couldn't get into it. Anyways, no, I wasn't a fan of it. Like I get why people are, and that's fine. Just it wasn't a movie for me. I am going to rewatch it again, mainly because I haven't seen it since it was in the theaters in 2009.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's been a little while. It's been a couple of weeks or so, I think, if I'm judging time passage correctly, which I feel like I am. Then yeah, it is probably a Lego because it wasn't a good movie.
Subjectivity of art.
Yeah,
in the works right there.
Yeah. So I will go see it again, probably in the theater, just because that's the best way to enjoy a movie with its graphics. I don't know. Did they say they were re-releasing it in 3D? I feel like I asked this the last time we talked about this.
Maybe, but here's the thing. I would probably want to see it in 3D.
Yeah, because that's what was cool about that movie.
Although we'll have to see if my head can handle that, but whatever.
Yeah. Anyways. So what is this news? So was it Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie are working on a couple other movies, including a musical.
They're doing like an action, like a thriller, and then a musical.
And then a movie completely about Les Grossman from Tropic Thunder. Which, I mean, we've all been begging for that ever since that came out in 2008. We've been
that
begging.
One does feel about a decade too late for me, but at the same time, if they can pull it off, then why not?
That's one of those that I feel like we've been wanting that movie for so long. Like, I don't care when it comes out, just give it to us. Like, I want a Les Grossman movie. He was easily the best part of Tropic Thunder, aside from Robert Downey Jr.'s character.
Does Tom Cruise still have those moves?
Oh yeah, easily.
But yeah, this is a movie that I feel like should have worked on and gotten it out probably back like in 2012, like literally a decade ago. But you know, it's interesting to see like the trajectory Tom Cruise is going on with his career right now, because he could easily just hang up the action movie stuff and just be completely done with it, do something fun like a Les Grossman or a random musical here, and just kind of coast out the rest of his days acting in more dramatic art pieces or something like that. But at the same time, you know, he's working on the last 2 Mission Impossibles, and I say last 2, but who knows what direction that franchise goes in. He's working on those, and he's also going to be working with McQuarrie on a couple other action thrillers. And it's like, you know what? Hey, as long as the man's got the energy and the physicality to him, go for it.
Don't forget, there's also one he wants to film in space.
Yeah, and then that one, who knows what's going on with that one? The man has been like one of the best action stars of all time. You know, he's in some of the most like fun action movies ever. I mean, we literally did an entire marquee about his action movies. So, you know, there's a lot to the man. So if he wants to do all these movies, you know, absolutely for it. So the Les Grossman movie, I'm interested in. I still think that I think that one's going to be kind of a hard sell for the majority of general audiences. And I think that's why it's been a decade too late. If you did this back in 2012, you know, about 4 years out from Tropic Thunder, fresh off of Tropic Thunder still, then you've still got the recency and the recognition to the character. But now it's going to be, you know, most people are going to be like, oh yeah, that character from that one movie. He was funny. I guess we'll go watch it. Or they'll be like, nah, I don't care. Then you got the rest of us who like are in the movie space are going to be like, absolutely, yeah, this is going to be a hilarious movie. And so, you know, that's a smaller niche or crowd though than general audiences, which will probably not care too much.
Yeah. Anyways, and then him being in a musical. Haven't seen Rock of Ages, but from what I've heard, he wasn't the best part of that movie.
I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. That's just the only news on that was planning on doing a musical. We don't know what that musical is. Is it an original? Is it based on something else? Who knows? But, you know, we've had some pretty decent musicals lately, so I'd give it a shot.
Watch him do Little Shop of Horrors, and he's going to be either Seymour or the dentist. That'd be fun.
Audrey.
Actually, him as the dentist would be great.
Audrey too.
He won't be Audrey.
Feed me, Seymour.
Yeah.
Blood.
So let's go and talk about this Wizard of Oz remake thing, because this blew up Twitter for like an hour or so. So there is going to be a remake. It's going to be directed by the creator of the TV show Blackish, Kenya Barris. He's doing a remake of Wizard of Oz. There's no real description as to what his remake is going to look like, but they're just describing it as a fresh take,
a modernization.
So I know like a lot of people were saying that since he's the person who created Blackish, you could probably safely assume that it may have like connections or reimaginings from The Wiz, which came out like in, I believe, the 70s with Diana Ross, Michael Jackson, Nipsey Russell, and it was a really good movie. Like that was a really good like alternate take, I guess, on The Wizard of Oz. Great music. Ease on Down the Road, just fantastic song. Yeah. But there was a lot of people on Twitter that were saying like, why are we remaking a classic movie? This is something that I want to kind of bring up for our podcasts later. This was another idea I had. And those of y'all who didn't hear our announcement earlier, we will be doing the Cine Fanatics podcast. Make sure you stay tuned. We'll have you more information on that as we get to it. But yeah, anyways, I like the idea of talking about like what movies would you say are completely untouchable? You don't remake them for whatever reason. I kind of always felt that Wizard of Oz was like that, even though we've gotten like essentially The Wiz. There was the Return to Oz with Fairuza Balk back in the 80s, which was really dark and creepy. And then you've gotten other movies that I feel like were kind of like derivatives of it, like obviously Neverending Story, while based on its own book and not Wizard of Oz, it still felt like it was in the same vein as Wizard of Oz. Labyrinth kind of had that feel to it as well. So there's stuff like that. And I know what y'all are saying in the chat. The original Wizard of Oz that came out in 1939 was already like a remake as well, and that they changed a lot of it. It wasn't as dark as the original. Was it Frank L. Baum books?
Yeah.
The original books actually were kind of dark, like Return to Oz.
So what this means is that we have to redefine some terms here. There's remaking, and then there is reimagining. Yeah. So what we have is that people are saying the 1939 is the definitive classic of Wizard of Oz. Yes, there was a silent film that came before it. Nobody usually regards that one. The one we all regard, the one usually we all regard as the definitive classic, is the 1939 Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
That one, as that movie has been made, that is the movie that everyone is saying, hey, we shouldn't remake that movie. We shouldn't retouch that movie. The way that movie is presented, a remake being a one-to-one, we're taking all the scenes and kind of shooting it one-to-one. We're just using new technology, new actors, whatever. We shouldn't do that. And that I agree with.
Like 1998 Psycho.
Leave the 1939 version of Wizard of Oz alone and by itself. That movie exists as it is. No, I use this term specifically. We do not need to remake that movie. However, since that movie and the story of Wizard of Oz is based on other material, there is no reason why we cannot create a new film that is a reimagining or a retelling of the material, the story that it all comes from. That is not a remake. That is a reimagining. That is perfectly acceptable. I'm okay with that. Just don't do a one-to-one recreation of the 1939 classic, because that feels untouchable. So as an example of what I'm talking about here, we had Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. That movie I felt like was one of those don't touch it movies. This to whatever degree it had a level of classicness to it. Mm-hmm. Then they came out with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which a lot of people were going, you remade Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. No, they didn't. They made Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which is actually more based on the actual book itself.
Yeah, it's more faithful to Roald Dahl's book than the original Willy Wonka.
And you can leave aside whether you prefer Willy Wonka or Charlie, which one. I do prefer Willy Wonka. I didn't like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory all that much, but it was more faithful to the actual book itself. And so in that case, I believe that is a reimagining or a retelling of the original source material rather than a remake of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I think in that case, a remake would have still been called Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Now, we're probably still going to have a movie called The Wizard of Oz or something, but it's still going to be probably more based on, or at least a reimagining or a retelling of the original source material over an actual remake of the 1939 movie. Even if it is the same modernization, that's okay. That's new. That's adding something new and different to it that isn't a one-to-one remake of the 1939 version. So
Lego was saying a reimagining is what Tim Burton does. If I remember correctly, Tim Burton also did a Wizard of Oz movie. I think he did two of them. Was there only two? Was there two, or was there only just one? I know he did two of the Alice in Wonderlands. I can't remember if he did a second Wizard of Oz with James Franco as the wizard. Was that Oz, Great and Powerful?
So there's a lot. I mean, I see a lot of talk also in the chat about you can remake kind of any movie. I disagree with that. There are still some movies out there that you cannot remake. Namely, now I bring up the Star Wars franchise for this. You're not going to remake the Star Wars movies. Now, granted, that franchise is still technically ongoing and will probably always be ongoing. They're always going to add to the canon of that. So in a logistical sense, it doesn't make sense to remake one of the original trilogy movies because those movies still exist in the timeline of what we're getting story-wise. But
Oz, Great and Powerful, Sam Raimi. Sorry.
Yeah, Oz the Great and Powerful. I heard that one wasn't great, but
it wasn't. I watched it.
So, I mean, there are some movies that are pretty well untouchable as far as remaking, but in the specific example of Star Wars, it's just because the storyline of that movie is still continuity-wise happening right now.
But like, so there's movies I would say that I feel like would be untouchable. Citizen Kane. I'm not a big fan of Citizen Kane, but that is that movie's done in such a way I don't believe you're going to be able to remake it. The Godfather. I don't foresee anyone remaking The Godfather. They may make movies very much like that, but I can't see them touching that.
The only way I see something like The Godfather being remade is like maybe another couple of generations past us.
And it's not really a remake, but it's the same family, just a new story coming from the same Corleone family.
Maybe.
Yeah. Garth saying Casablanca. Casablanca, I don't feel like is one that could be touched, even though I guess apparently Barbed Wire and Out Cold were remakes, technically.
They've adapted like themes and story elements from Casablanca into other movies.
Wire. Wow.
Casablanca as itself, I don't know, because that story is very much of its time. That is specifically surrounding a specific time period. Unless they again remake it 1-to-1, that one's probably not going to get touched. But again, that is if you remake that one, it is a remake. It's not a reimagining.
And then I feel like there's ones that like you can't remake it just because, kind of like what you're saying is it's a product of that time. What makes that movie is the way it was filmed, the way it sounds, the way it looks. For example, Singing in the Rain. You can't do a good, solid remake of that movie. You can't do a reimagining of it. You can't do a remake because what makes that movie classic is the way it sounds, the way it looks, the way it was shot, all the dancing, the musical numbers, everything. Just you can't copy that. So that's another one I don't think that you'll ever be able to touch again.
No, but there are elements of that movie that we'll probably see in other movies. In fact, we're absolutely going to see an element of that movie. Like La La Land. We're absolutely, speaking of Damien Chazelle, we're going to see an element of that movie, the silent films to talkies, happening in Damien Chazelle's next movie, Babylon, which I'm very much looking forward to. That comes out, I believe, sometime this year or early next year. I don't know, but
interesting.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So again, this is an interesting subject. I would probably like to dive deeper into it to really like get a good grasp of an idea. Instead of like just quickly, like me and my brother haven't talked about this before right now. So this is our actual conversation that we would maybe have typically had like here in our apartment. We're just like shooting the shit, just hanging out here. But yeah, like I said in Fight Club, everything is a copy of a copy. Sure. Like, and that's going back to the thing where they said, like, they're like in true storytelling fashion, there's only 5 stories. Every single thing we've seen, books, movies, concept albums, or music, there's only 5 like actual stories you tell, and everything's just a different variation of those 5. Absolutely, 100%. But it's just the way it's done, the way it looks, the way it's presented. That's where your differences are going to come in, and that. Some of those, they just kind of like fall into place like Tetris pieces. It falls in perfectly, creates that line disappears, you can't do it again type of thing. That might have been a bad example with Tetris. I don't know why I brought Tetris in, but whatever.
There's truly no new original ideas anymore in the very specific terms of what does new and original mean.
Yeah. Because everything can be like a derived from something else.
There's just different ways of telling the same stories over and over again.
Yeah. Anyways, so here's the thing. I'm one of those where I feel like the original 1939 Wizard of Oz should not be touched, but at the same time, I'm thinking like with modern technology and like the storytelling that we have today could be very interesting to see what someone does with that. With proper vision and proper studio backing, that would look fantastic. You know what doesn't have proper studio backing?
Batgirl?
Our main topic of the night. Let's go back and real quick. Let's cover this this WB Discovery shenanigans thing.
Let's go on a time journey, y'all. We'll take you back to literally 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, like that was almost like so the last show we did before taking this break was the marquee, the finale of the MCU marquee, which was funny that it was the MCU marquee. And then like almost like within a day or two later, this whole news about Batgirl being canceled just blew up all over the internet. We're like, well, we're still going to take some time off because we need mental health breaks. So the interesting thing with this, and this is kind of why I like these breaks every once in a while, is we could have been just like everyone else at the time. Turn on the camera, hop on live stream and be like, okay, well, here's why I think this is a terrible idea. But now it's been weeks. This story has come and pretty much sort of gone. There's like little pieces that still kind of build up as a part of it as time continues. But we have a better like vision now than we did when this news first started breaking out.
Yeah.
Like you say you found or heard something about it.
Found or heard something about it.
Yeah, like we had heard from people who were actively involved with this movie.
So in regards to specifically Batgirl, yeah, there's been people who not officially on a record of sorts, but have worked on the movie. They have stated these are things that people have actually who've worked on the movie have actually stated. They said that they have seen the finished copy of the movie. They have watched it. And that Warner Brothers made the correct decision by not releasing it. Which is something that I think a lot of people don't necessarily want to hear, because the honest truth of it is it's easier to outcry on Twitter. The side of it, which is, we need to see this movie for Leslie Grace's sake, for the director's sake, for everybody who worked hard on this movie. We need to see it. There's the side of it, the perspective that nobody talks about, which is maybe it's actually in the benefit of everybody who worked on this movie that their work actually isn't seen, which is a hard thing it's a hard take to have. It's a hard thing to argue. But if someone who worked on the movie is out here talking about, yeah, it's actually a good thing that it wasn't put out, maybe you got to start thinking it is actually in the benefit of the people who worked on the movie to not have this. Because if you think about the way the industry works, if I go into an audition, I go up for another role, and I have a movie, I'm a director, or I'm going to take this back. The two directors, the guys who worked on this, they worked on the 2 episodes of Miss Marvel. They worked on Bad Boys for Life. Mm-hmm. If they go try to get another directing job and a studio looks back at a specific movie that they have done that just completely bombed or completely tanked, that studio might be like, maybe you guys aren't right for this particular feature. And they might miss out on a job that they would otherwise be perfectly suited for.
Bad Boys for Life wasn't bad.
Bad Boys for Life wasn't bad. Those 2 episodes of Miss Marvel were fantastic.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be good to release this if it actually is bad and let them be judged on this one.
What if Batgirl tanks the next big thing for them that would have actually skyrocketed their names and actually made them like household name directors?
Yeah, and that's the thing to keep in mind from that point of view as well. I know, like when this news first broke, a lot of people were saying like, okay, so we're going to cancel Batgirl, but we're still going to release The Flash. Well, I mean, apples and oranges.
Yes.
From what it sounds like, based off of what we hear, Batgirl was being canceled just because it just wasn't a good movie. Pure and simple. Doesn't matter who's in it. Doesn't matter what people who are in it are doing in their personal private lives. Just it was a bad movie. Flash so far, from what we know, the Flash movie isn't a bad movie.
What we've heard was that it was testing very positive with test audiences.
Yeah. It's just Ezra Miller is a problematic person. So therefore, yeah, it's not the same thing. It's not like was it Leslie Grace was Batgirl. She wasn't doing anything. She wasn't anything wrong. It wasn't being canceled because she has done stuff personally in public that people are condemning her for. But Ezra Miller, they have. So yeah, it's not the same thing. So I don't understand that argument or why people draw up comparisons that don't actually.
Real quick, I want to bring up. So Malcolm said, wouldn't it be just as bad for them if they go to a new directing job and they see they had a movie that was deemed unfit to be released? No, because the way WB put it out there was that they didn't put out there in such a manner as to we're not canceling this movie because of the individuals who worked on it or their vision for it. We just don't find it. We're just not finding it to be profitable or whatever their terminology was. They did it in such a way that the individuals who are involved in it aren't going to get slack, aren't going to take flack for it. Mm-mm. So what happens is they go into another job and studio sees that they had a movie that was unreleased. That can't be held against them. Another studio is not going to hold that against them because there was no hard numbers. That's the thing you got to remember is it's a business. We're looking for hard numbers here. Can you guys put up hard numbers when it comes to creating a movie? If we don't have the hard number for it because it was never put out, then there's nothing to hold against them.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like Lego saying that it was announced that they're going to do a tax write-off on it. Apparently.
It's a business move.
How much did they spend on it? Like 90 million.
Yeah, it was like 90 million.
That's just hopefully a way for them to recoup some money.
They're recouping about 20 million off of that. So it's not like we're only doing this because of the tax write-off. It's just you're doing the tax write-off at this point because you're not releasing the movie. You might as well get some money back on it.
Yeah. And I know, so since this news came out, I mean, obviously we weren't doing shows. We did kind of give like some opinions like on Twitter. The thing with this is that I hate with like using Twitter. First of all, you're limited in the amount of characters. So unless you want to be doing like an entire like tweet thread or whatever they're called, whatever the kids
I have been known.
Yeah. Unless you want to do one of those, it's really hard to, at least for me, being a much older gentleman than the kids that are currently using Twitter nowadays. It's harder for me to to get my thoughts, feelings, and opinions in a tweet. I did, and from talking to my brother over here, like we have been talking about like how DC, how Warner Brothers should go about doing this. And I know this was kind of like going back, we were saying possibly an episode of like the podcast. How would you run the DC EU or so? I did put out like, I guess you refer to it as what? Scorched Earth?
Yes. Canceling everything.
Just cancel all of it. And like, since I'm on camera now, I can kind of reiterate this in better wording. DC has like, of course, you know, like Marvel, the MCU came out in 2008 with Iron Man. At that time, DC was still working on the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy. So they still had that, and that was doing very well for them. And that was fine. There was no MCU really created, so we had nothing to go off of. It made sense that they would continue with those movies. And then, of course, I think also they were starting production on Man of Steel at that time, which I don't believe, if I remember correctly, I don't believe they initially had the idea to have Man of Steel be their Iron Man to start a whole new shared universe of DC. It just happened to come out that way. It just turned into that. But because of that, they were doing that, and then they started making movies in this DCEU, and I don't know, like, because there wasn't like a Kevin Feige, there wasn't one person in charge of everything with a single focal point of how the movie should go. Yeah. It made all these movies and their connections just kind of flimsy. Some of them were good, some of them were really bad. And my thought on it was that because they didn't have a good point of view from the very beginning, like Marvel did, scrap it all. Let's start all over. So let's start fresh.
Yep.
And unfortunately, what that means is the stuff that worked, you lose it. You didn't have the foresight to know what you were doing to begin with. Therefore, you don't get to keep it. You don't get to keep Henry Cavill as Superman, even though I loved him as Superman. I thought he did great. You don't get to keep that. Superman. Yeah, you recast everyone, recast everything. Let's start over, clean slate, brand new DC extended universe or DCCU, whatever, cinematic universe. Straight up copy Marvel. There is absolutely nothing wrong with copying Marvel exactly. And kind of like when I was talking to my brother about this, the reason I was giving why it's okay to copy, when buildings were first created, whoever created the first building, someone else saw that like, oh, I want one of those. So he just straight up copied how buildings are made. Walls, roof, floor, everything. Indoor plumbing. All of that was just straight up copied. So it is okay to do a one-for-one copying like that. And that's what I would like to see, because I want to appreciate DC movies like I appreciate the Marvel movies. So that was my thoughts on it. Just start all over, scrap it all. I'm sorry you had stuff that worked very well. Because you weren't able to follow through with it, though, you lose it. How did I say it? Like, if you're not responsible with it, then you deserve to lose it. So yeah, I would like to see like Black Adam, Shazam 2, Aquaman 2, all of that's supposed to be coming out. Cancel it all. It's all gone. Bye-bye.
And of course, that's in an ideal world, because we know they're not going to do that.
They're not going to do that. But now here's the thing. I say that I'm still going to go see Black Adam. I'm still going to go see Shazam 2. But
what they should end up doing is release the things that are on the slate right now that are completed, that are done. In that case, I would have argued for the release of Batgirl also. If you're going to put it on HBO Max, just throw it on HBO Max. Just go for it. Even good or bad, regardless, put it out there. If it's completed, get it done, get it out. If it's near completion, get it done, get it out. Blue Beetle, Shazam, Black Adam, Aquaman 2, get them out. Obviously, they're not going to cancel the Flash movie, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the Ezra Miller situation here in a second. They're not going to cancel the Flash movie. They're probably going to utilize Flash as the tie a bow on it, boom, done, move on, blow it all up, redo it all, move on to the next thing. Fine. My personal opinion, I don't think you need to have the Flash movie do that. I think if you wanted to restart your entire universe, just restart your entire universe. There's no written rule about this. You don't need to have a movie do it for you. Just do it. If you're going to do it, just do it. But they want to go about it this way. That's fine. Zaslav is talking about protecting the DC brand, which is why he doesn't want to release, these DC features on HBO Max. They need to be big theatrical epic films or whatever. I get that from a studio perspective. I understand that from a consumer perspective. I love the big, crazy theatrical experience. I'm all for that. I understand it. Cool, down. But at the same time, you gotta look at what you have currently. And currently, they had movies that they had a movie they could just put out on HBO Max with Batgirl, and they have movies that are coming out. They have a 10-year plan. They have a direction they want to go. They want to protect the brand of DC. That's fine. You can start that after these movies are out and done. Make sure everybody gets their due and everything. My
issue real quick with that, though, speaking about the Flash movie, and I've told you this, is that this Flash movie is supposed to come out next summer. So if we were to go with my plan, wipe everything, that means potentially we would get a good Flash movie within the next couple of years. Instead, we're going to release this Flash movie that most people probably are not going to go see because of Ezra Miller, and we're not going to see another Flash movie for probably like another 10 years.
And under your idea, and we've talked about this, we get a good Flash movie under that plan if that's like the first movie they go with out the gate.
Hopefully, maybe.
If they're going to copy Marvel, what they need to do is they need to take their time. They've already talked about wanting to focus on quality over quantity. So they're not going to rush out with, Marvel's 4 movies a year type plan, which means you're only going to put out, let's say if they want to start with Superman again, you'll get a Superman movie, but we're going to take our time. We're going to make sure we have all the pieces in place. We're going to get everything inline actors, directors, story. We're going to know which direction we're going for the next few years. We're going to get that 10-year plan set up, and then we're going to release the first movie. If that's the case, yeah, you don't see that first movie till like 2025. Because you got to take into mind like filming the movie too. And if that's the case, they're only doing 1 or 2 movies, I think, a year at that point.
So that's what I'm saying. If they release this Flash movie next year, we're not going to see another Flash movie, specifically a movie about Flash, probably for another 10 years, because they are going to put some distance between this one and a possible new one. They're not going to turn around and like, well, we're going to do another Flash movie here in a couple of years that has nothing to do with this one that we just put out that none of y'all went to go see.
I'd give it another 5 years from here. From this point.
It depends on how they do it. But yeah, again, this is all something that I feel like we could potentially dive into like with a true podcast, because I really haven't thought of it that much. Yeah. And see, this is the other thing too, like what Malcolm's bringing up, this Batman movie with Robert Pattinson.
It's kind of hanging out there in space on its own.
The Joker
that and the
movie,
Joker.
Yeah.
So what that means, and if I could point you guys to the direction of anyone else's content from our channel, I would say check out what Coy said over on Real Rejects. He put out his way he would fix the DC universe also, and what he would do is utilize the Flash movie as they're probably going to, which is to redo everything, but move it into their 10-year plan, which would be the DCCU, the DC Cinematic Universe, which would be the new 52 in the comics, which would essentially be starting over, fresh coat of paint, everything new, boom, starting off with Superman, here we go. And then also split off with the whole multiversal side of the whole Flashpoint storyline. Leave a DC Black Label as almost like a separate studio, as it were, where you could still get the Batman, you could still get your Joker, if they want to touch on those stories.
So
it's a little weird. It's
for comparison, if Marvel was to do it, it would be like, say, Damien Chazelle wants to make an Iron Man movie while we have Iron Man in the MCU. Like,
yeah,
you're going to confuse your audience.
Here's the thing: we call it weird because it hasn't been done before. Marvel, what they did in their cinematic universe was weird because it's never been done before, but it works. So everything is weird until we see it work properly.
Yeah, but Marvel isn't doing like other side movies while their same exact character is.
No, but that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I was saying. What I was saying is they didn't do a cinematic. No one did a cinematic universe like Marvel until Marvel did it. It was a weird concept until Marvel did it.
Yeah.
So just like that, a whole double universe essentially for a product is a weird concept until it's executed properly, and we go, oh, okay, it's not weird anymore because we see it successfully work.
Well, this is also the same thing. Like back in the 90s, there was that Spider-Man cartoon. The Spider-Man cartoon in the 90s, for a while, they weren't allowed to use the characters of Sandman or Electro because there was a Spider-Man movie being developed that was going to use Sandman and Electro. They didn't want to put Sandman and Electro in the Spider-Man cartoon because they were afraid it would confuse audiences, which, if you talk to people generally, or you go look at the high quality of people that are on Twitter, yeah, you're probably going to confuse a lot of people by doing that, which is weird because we're not confusing people by the fact that Spider-Man's in a cartoon and a movie. Beside the point, that was one of the stipulations for the cartoon back then, because people did know that you could easily confuse your audience, and if you confuse your audience, it's going to be hard to keep them around. Now we're looking at kind of the same thing, that kind of like what I was saying. Marvel's not going to have a like Doctor Strange movie that is outside of the Doctor Strange in the MCU. They're not going to do something like that. Not the same Sandman Wingblade.
So sort of. So we now see that audiences can handle that, though. And I think that's to be expected, is if you do it and you do it well enough, audiences will learn. Mm-hmm. They might be confused at first, but they will learn. Into the Spider-Verse happened at the same time while there was a Tom Holland Spider-Man movies happening. It was
by the same studio.
By the same studio. It was its own thing. It was completely separate. It was its own thing. Audiences weren't confused. I mean, some of us might have been like, is this going to be attached to the MCU? Is this like a MCU animated movie? What's happening here? We were questioning that at the beginning, but we quickly realized when we watched the movie, that it wasn't. It was its own thing, which is perfectly okay.
But it still could.
And it still could. Who knows? The way Sony does things, that maybe they will try to figure out a way to tie it into the MCU.
That's a whole nother podcast episode. Let's talk about how Sony's messing up.
So to speak, like, again, I think the points that I get at here is that everything is confusing until it's not, and everything is weird until it's not. We're at an unprecedented time for DC and for what Warner Brothers wants to do with that whole property. We will see. I am very reserved. I think we should all probably be pretty reserved based on the track record so far. I'm pretty reserved about what Discovery wants to do with WB. Kind of reserved until we see things successfully work. So I think that's kind of the stance that most of us take, and most of us are going to continue to take on that.
Yeah. Real quick before we continue, because I know we want to talk about The Flash and Ezra Miller. So just as we are winding down the conversation about Wizard of Oz, we did get a Streamlabs in from Garth saying, all I'm saying is calm down. Even if they do a new Wizard of Oz movie copying scenes from 1939, it won't erase the original. You can watch it over and over again and love it. some people might prefer the new one, like me, if it's not a musical. Yeah, and that's completely fine. And I think that's what like some of the argument issue is with remaking movies that are classics that some people may deem untouchable. You could just not watch the new one. I mean, that's possible.
There's subtlety in the arguments. There's a fine line, or there's a phrase I'm looking for and I can't find it.
No one is Clockwork Oranging you to watch this movie,
and that's in that, it's going to be a new modern retelling of a story. So, it's not going to be a 1-to-1 remake. They're not going to 1-to-1 remake Wizard of Oz from 1939. It's just not going to happen.
No.
So.
So moving on real quick, last thing about The Flash you want to touch upon before we end here. Was it yesterday? Ezra Miller released a statement saying, having recently gone through a time of intense crisis, I now understand that I am suffering complex mental health issues and have begun ongoing treatment. I want to apologize to everyone I have alarmed and upset with my past behavior. I'm committed to doing the necessary work to get back to a healthy, safe, and productive stage in my life. Two things with this. One, hopefully they're actually like honest with this. This is how they actually feel about about this, and I would love to see that. Not necessarily because I still want to see their take on Flash in a Flash solo movie. I probably, in all honesty, I really don't care about it that much anymore. But just for the fact that they are definitely a person that needs help. And I would like to see them get that kind of help that they need to resolve it. And then the other side of it is Warner Brothers going, hey, release a statement because you're fucking up our movie.
Pretty much. This statement, like, us peons out here in the ether, we cannot tell the genuineness of the statement. We can only judge based off the words used. Mm-hmm. So none of us can really get inside Ezra Miller's head and determine whether or not they're actually telling the truth, their truth, and nothing but their truth. So help them God. So we can only go based on what they're saying. Now, for me, I lightly joke about this. The way it sounds to me is that there's some big Warner Brothers mob bosses out there who rolled up on Ezra Miller, pointed a gun straight at their head and said, apologize right now. I'm not going to sit here and come up with this conspiracy theory stating that movie studios actually have these kinds of individuals who will actually do such nefarious acts. But that's the way it almost comes across, which is, you better say something right now or we are going kind of a situation. But either way, like, I lean to hoping that everything that Ezra Miller said here was genuine and true, and that they are going to actually get the help that they need to get, because I would love for Ezra Miller to be on the other side of mental health issues. I would love everybody to be on the other side of mental health issues, to be healthy and thriving the way they should be. But it's going to take some work to get there. So hopefully they're genuine, and this is actually, they're going to get the good help that they need.
Yeah, so kind of like what Jeremy Miller's saying, and I mean, unfortunately, that means only time will tell. So, We'll see. I mean, you've seen stuff like Robert Downey Jr. went through a ton of stuff. I mean, it's like notorious how much stuff he went through. He's been doing perfectly fine since 2008, since Iron Man. Yep. So, I mean, it's possible. Anyways, WB have Al Pacino and Robert De Niro on their payroll. They're as close to mob boss as they can get. Yeah, that's great. We're going to make them an offer they couldn't refuse. They got to make sure to use the right pronouns on that. It's a good line right there. Anyways, so that's going to be an offer.
You cannot refuse. Hey, we would like to employ you in the future, but you have to get your shit together.
Well, take it easy, sweetheart.
Whoa, take it easy, sweetheart. Go get some therapy. Hey.
Anyways, that's going to do it for Tagline tonight. Again, real quick recap. I'm going to be on What the Show tomorrow night, 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern, doing Scrubs trivia. If you're a fan of the TV show Scrubs, come join us. If you're not a fan of the TV show Scrubs, go watch Scrubs again for more than 15 minutes and become a fan of the TV show Scrubs, and then join us over there for the trivia. It's going to be a lot of fun. Friday, I'll be over on the Fans View channel. We're going to be, I believe we're watching Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. That's going to be Friday night. I'm not exactly sure what the time is going to be, but I believe it might be somewhere around it where it typically is, which is usually 8:35 Pacific and 11:35 Eastern. So go over there and join us for that. Friday, the 26th of this month, 7:30 Pacific, 10:30 Eastern, will be the next episode of The Marquee. It's going to be 80s summer blockbusters. Gonna have a lot of fun with that. If you're a part of our Patreon, you can find on Discord here in a second when I'm done with this. I will put the list of the movies that we're going to be ranking. So if you haven't seen those movies, you want to catch up and know what we're talking about, that list will be available for you if you are a patron. Even if you're at the $1 tier, you'll have access to our Discord. Also, coming up soon, as we announced earlier, we are doing a new show. It is going to be the Cine Fanatics podcast. This is going to be a podcast show. It's going to be pre-recorded in our new studio living room. It's also going to be available for podcasts, so audio only. There'll be both a video and audio component of that. We don't have a date yet of when that's going to premiere, but it is coming soon, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, otherwise, make sure you hit up on patreon.com/cinefanatics. We got a movie watch along coming this Monday. If you're on the Patreon, be on the lookout for that poll. It's going to be a poll of some of my brother's favorite movies, since this is his birthday month. So you'll be selecting from that list. It's going to be a lot of fun with that. The following Monday, the 29th, we will be doing our movie trivia hangout in some form or fashion. It's going to be a little different, but if you're at the $25 tier for that, you'll be able to join us on that date as well. Anyways, that is going to do it for tonight. Make sure you follow us at Cinefanatics MLP on Twitter, Instagram. You can follow me, Robert Adams MLP, on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Chris.
You can follow me at Chris Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, as well as twitch.tv/Chris Adams MLP. We're playing games, having fun. We're doing some stuff over there, and you want to be a part of that stuff. If you haven't been part of that stuff yet, please come be a part of that stuff. It's a lot of fun. Come hang out. I love an active chat, and I love hanging out with you guys while you're in the chat. So come on.
Yep. Anyways, that's going to do it for tonight. So, yes, Lego 80s blockbuster, summer blockbuster movies. So, that is going to do it for tonight. Ooh, I can't breathe. We will see you all again Monday if you're a part of the Patreon for the watch along. Otherwise, we will see y'all next Wednesday for the Tagline again. Y'all all have a great evening. Good night.
Bye.